Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah ta'ala wa barakatuhu. This is Islamic Action TV. I'm Bilal Ali Hugh, and this is brought to you by Gorilla Minded Productions. Yes, in the seat again. It may get hot at some point, but at the moment it's just a seat in the Islamic Action TV studio. I want to talk about the Great Debate series. As we know, last year we had a massive debate in the Islamic Center, and we looked at the revert context and the issue of nominal designations. We've got a debate coming up within the next 8 weeks, inshallah ta'ala. The location to be confirmed, the specific date and time to be announced. And the topic matter will be homosexuals, male and female, in the Muslim community. So this is a topic I think, and many people think, may be controversial, but at the same time it needs to be addressed because there is a rise of Muslims who are donning or are coming forward, or it's emerging that these issues regarding to sexuality are becoming a problem. And we get lectures and we get seminars and presentations from the shuyukh and different public speakers in the Muslim community. But at best we're told about it being haram, and we kind of get a full stop pretty much after the fatwa. But we don't want to deal with things from a kind of legalistic, dry point of view. We're trying to deal with things from a philosophical point of view. So what I want to do is to have somebody representing the homosexual argument, if I can put it that way, who is a Muslim or professing to be a Muslim, and somebody that is representing the reason why homosexuality can be seen as problematic, if I can use a conservative term. And it's not, and I hasten to add, it is not any form of gay bashing. I wouldn't involve myself in anything that's just non-intellectual. So this is a way of trying to bring about education, bring about a greater understanding. And just to clarify about the debate that happened in the past, where people, because I was approached, and people had an issue and said, for example, the debate was related to the issue of revert and do we need nominal designations, and for example, the organization called ARC, the Ahlul Bayt Revert community, that they were, why weren't they involved? Why didn't you invite them to be involved? And as a revert organization in London, that they should essentially be taking part. You should have invited them. You're putting on this debate, Bilal. So just for a clarification, just to specify and make it clear that that the leadership in that national charity known as the ARC, I formally invited all those in key positions by way of email. I verbalized to those who I saw, and even one individual that was unwilling to receive email. I photographed the email and sent him by way of WhatsApp, not because it was anything personal, but because it was dealing with a community issue, and as representatives of that national charity, I wanted to just do the right thing according to protocol. So they were invited. I never received one formal response. People saw me, people spoke to me about it, people sent me emails, said that sounds good, but as an organization I received no formal response from them. So just to clear the record up that make anybody think they were disinvited or they were bypassed, because I know, for example, in the past there's been a program that was put on in Streatham, and a big Islamic organization, one of the bigger Islamic organizations in Europe, had put on this event, and the ARC were invited, and just days before they pulled out. And when I asked individuals that were involved in that organization, the official line was, we were not involved in the planning stage. I don't know how long they had known they weren't involved in the planning stage, or what it was they wanted to contribute to the planning stage, but it seems as if they felt slighted by it, so they pulled out. So to avoid that, I actually approached the brothers and sisters formally by way in written, not verbalized, but in a written form, to let the record stand, in a written form, to say, if you would like to be involved in terms of providing debaters on either side of the discussion, to promote the debate, to organize the debate, to be involved in the moderation, or whatever, in whatever capacity you would. And like I said, I received no formal response, and I think that if anything, speaks volumes. That speaks, that echoes through that echoes through time, and it speaks for itself. So I mean, I don't know about the organization. All I know, in a sense, I can tell you, is that it's a national charity. But if you those are people who are coming to me, because obviously I'm black, right? I'm African Caribbean, so many Muslims, they in a inadvertent way they sort of have some sort of synonym between being Muslim and being black, and so you must be amongst the followers of Ahlul Bayt, you must be related to Ark. So wherever I go, people will say, so what's happening with Ark, and where are Ark, and so how is things going in Ark? As if I'm a member. I'm not a member of that organization. I hold no official position or unofficial position related to the organization. So just to let the record stand. So if anybody, I would put this out there, so anybody that wants to know about the organization, you need to approach them themselves. They have a website. They have if you want to find out about their constitution, if you want to find out about the donations of £10,000 they received and what it is they're doing with that £10,000 for the community, because it is as I said, it's a public body or it's a national charity. Ask for that feedback. Don't ask me. I don't know. I make no slight about not knowing about, for example, the money. I'm not mentioning that it was improperly used. It may have not been used at all. Who knows? Some people are saying, Bilal, no, it's a lack of vision, it's a lack of creativity, it's a lack of revolutionary spirit, there's no spine, there's no activity, it's a community with a lack of commitment. They call themselves a community, but they have a committee, but the committee doesn't have any form of commitment. I say, subhanAllah, this is for you to say to them. Don't say it to me because I'm not a member. I hasten to add. So essentially, as I said before, and I'll say it again, if you see any member, you've got their contact details via Facebook or whatever it is, you ask them, do you meet more than once a month? And just have a lecture and have food? Is it more than that? Is it just trade puff when you have a big website and a Facebook campaign? But is there anything behind that? What is the programs? What are the let's say projects that you're working on or that you have worked on? In fact, not what you're going to work on, but what you have worked on, not what you're planning to. And so what do you do now? Well, what we're hoping to do. But what are you doing now? What have you done? Well, what we see in the future is, no, what is it that you've done or that you're doing? Don't, as I said before, do not ask Bilal, because Bilal, in all honesty, I don't know the facts. You have to ask those individuals that are representatives of this august body. So just that was just to put the record straight. And what I didn't want to do is have this type of discussion or have this type of conversation, and it's always in the unspoken. I think that's a problem and it's always unhealthy. So I wanted to just let the record stand straight. But I hope I've done it with at least some form of modesty and some form of a clerk, and not, as I said, not casting any aspersions. So look forward to this space coming up soon within the next 8 weeks, inshallah ta'ala. The great debate series continues, homosexuals, male and female in the Muslim community, and we're going to have both sides of the argument. We're going to hear the nature-nurture debate, the haram, the halal, the makruh, and the philosophical approach and the philosophical perspective. And the debate continues. I believe that there are some questions being formulated, but I'm all ears, and I'm just here to do the work, to do the work and keep the information in the public domain, just pumping out to the public, So inshallah, if there's any questions, I'll be happy to the best of my ability answer.
Well, brother, I'm absolutely riveted and spellbound by what you are proposing. I think it will be of such magnitude and something which needs to be attended and something that needs to be supported, because I believe it's so unique. I can't think of anywhere else in the Muslim world where I have experienced or aware of such a talk or seminar going on. I mean, the title itself, it speaks for itself. It is provocative, it is sensationalist, but it is thought-provoking, and I'm just inspired to want to go. It's probably similar to the children of Israel meeting once every so often with the Ark of the Covenant and gathering around it. Something of such a spectacle that would be recorded, as one said before, in the annals of history, that shows the level of scholarship and the level of critical thinking that you are espousing and you're trying to achieve. I can only commend you and say I, for one, will throw all my support behind making this event something that is so needed in the community, that is successful, helping to open the minds and the hearts of the community. So Islam is seen in a positive, forward, critical thinking light, which it should have been and which it always has been. So I would just like to commend you on that, brother. And just, if I may, with your kind permission, put forth just a few questions that came about from your very eloquent and very thought-provoking speech you just gave. If I may, with your permission, ask a few questions, brother.
Absolutely, my brother. Please be my guest.
Well, first of what comes up for me is concerning, you touched slightly on the issue of the of Ark. I believe they're called Ahlul Bayt Weaver Community. Mm-hmm. They're based in England, London, England. Mm-hmm. And I believe you say they consist of members of the Islamic community, which would be called the Shia community, and they hail from Britain. Is that correct?
To my knowledge, the best of my knowledge, that's absolutely correct.
And if I may go further, is it a case where you have been linked in some way to this particular group and you just wanted to state your position?
Yeah, I've been linked. I mean, there is a history in a sense that historically, you could say I held an office or had a position, but that was in the last decade. But of recent times, I have not had no official position and do not attend or have anything to do with this organization as such. But I know individuals who are, friendly or acquaintances or brothers in Islam that I may, conversate with from time to time. But that's as far as the connection goes.
And once again, from your humble knowledge of this particular group and from the position you've been in, being aware of this group, which you say that perhaps you helped out with in the past, what would you say is their impact in terms of the communities from which they hail from? You mentioned some of them from the African Caribbean community, if I may say so, or from the African community, or from the white British English community. First of all, what impact have they had in terms of dawah work, in terms of spreading the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt, in terms of increasing membership, and in terms of having a foothold in this community, which is non-Muslim, which they hail from? That's the first thing. And secondly, what impact do they have, or respect have they garnered within the heritage community in which which perhaps they may look to support from?
Let me answer. Thank you very much for your question, brother. Interesting questions. As I said, I'm answering this as a lay person because I don't own any official office or position in this organization. But I'll answer the second question first. I think that because of the technological age, because of things like Facebook, because of websites and things of this nature, I think that it would seem that many of the existing communities amongst the Qadr brothers and sisters, Pakistani brothers and sisters, Iraqi brothers and Iranian sisters, there may be some knowledge of this organization, and I think people may be led to believe that, or have the sense, or not led to believe, but necessarily, but they have a sense that there is much more going on. And so they're well known on the circuit, if you can put it that way, because if you're black, probably white brothers that are not involved probably could even answer that question, that people sort of assume in the heritage Muslim communities that those who have heard of ARC will just assume that you're some part of ARC. And I think in some respects that possibly helps them because it may inflate the perception in the public domain of what really is going on and how important and relevant they are. To answer your first question, in terms of, obviously as Muslims but born in Britain, whether you're of African Caribbean descent or of European descent, essentially we're stakeholders in society. To my knowledge, ARC have had no impact in terms of dawah, and no impact or relevance in terms of spreading the teachings of Ahlul Bayt or addressing any of the social, economic, political or psychological issues in the wider society, or as many of the brothers and sisters are from African Caribbean descent, have had none in the black community. They've got no street cred in the black community, or they're not known in the black community in any way, shape, form or fashion. In fact, to be quite frank, I think the dynamic that takes place for many of us who come to the path of Islam, whether we're Sunni, whether we're Shia, whether we're Sufis, that for some times we see the challenges and the decimation that has taken place within what we call the black community or communities throughout the UK, throughout Black Britain, And Islam is not as opposed to just a spiritual journey, but it's a way of separating ourselves and you could say abandoning in the struggle or running away, or it's a way of finding a hierarchy within a group that is maybe frowned upon. So although I'm black, but I'm Muslim, so I'm not really black, I'm Muslim. I'm just this, thing that exists not in time and space in a physical body, but I don't really come from a culture or, I mean, even think about it, even the term reaver, the brothers and sisters are quite adamant about donning. As I may mention this to you in the past before, I think that when a Pakistani brother says I'm a reaver, there's a context. He's not denying his Pakistani heritage. He's saying, okay, I was born in a Sunni family and I became a follower of the Ahlul Bayt, I became a Shia. So it just, reaver just has a kind of a passing kind of context. The same with a white British brother or sister, when they say, yeah, because they're a reaver, they're just saying, okay, I came to the path of Islam, but they're still white, they're not denying their Anglo-Saxon or Gothic or whatever heritage and, British culture and things of that nature. But when a African Caribbean Muslim, I think, commonly uses this term reaver, it's a shield, it's a way of avoiding having to deal with the, as Francis Fanon would talk about, wretched of the earth, this black skin, white mask type of phenomenon. So it's a way of opting out of racial politics, and a very crude term is cooning, but I don't tend to use this term because people clam up and it seems offensive. But I think the lack of vision, the lack of dealing with their own historical perspective and addressing the needs in their own community is evidence of what Marcus Garvey would say in a more polite way of saying, any leadership that would lead you to rely on another race is a leadership that would lead you back into slavery. So I think that's a more polite way of actually saying that, and that's from the Honourable Marcus Garvey. So it's just my humble opinion, my own perspective, but I think it's better to let the record, state the facts, or at least state the fact that that's my opinion.
And point B, about the impact they've had in the heritage community, how they're seen by the heritage community, and what support they've been given by the heritage community.
Like I said, I've been informed about £10,000 and other sums that have been being donated. I don't know what's been done with that, or what's the vision. What was a public announcement in terms of that? We represent the community, so we're seen in this light in the community. We've created an image amongst the heritage Muslims, so we're seen in a certain light as a representative of all reverts, which is actually probably not factual, but many people, it's just perception is everything. People don't know that. So this is the general knowledge of them, how highly respected, Allahu Akbar.
And if I may ask further questions, just one more question on Ark. From what I'm picking up, and correct me if I'm wrong, it seems as if then that they claim to represent a constituent, but there is some further clarification needed around their claim in regards to who they represent, what they actually are about, what effectiveness they have actually had, and if we're going to go through history, how they will be seen. We know Islamic Action has a profound track record, has been or is still the most dynamic movement in England that is pushing a strong Islamic ethos, which focuses on the repair, upliftment, empowerment, overcoming the psychological damage of slavery on the African psyche, and at the same time is pushing an Islamic agenda where it's embracing anyone who supports Islam, particularly from the philosophy of the Ahlul Bayt. So we know Islamic Action doesn't need to provide any credibility for itself, because it speaks for itself. It's on TV. There's records for it. Would you say Ark has a similar kind of existence, or would you say Ark, because as you mentioned, doesn't seem to have this foothold or street cred in the community? Do you think it because it lacks that credibility? Do you think it will have longevity, which it claims to have, or the impact it claims to have, or do you think it would just dissolve like many other organisations that have come along and claim to have these representations, but when you peer behind the man behind the curtain, you find that's not necessarily what you're being told is what the case is.
That's an interesting question. And the reason that's so interesting, because something came to mind, and it's like when two people are in a marriage and they still reside in the family home, but they live almost separate lives, so the marriage is ended, but there's an appearance to the outside world that they are still in some sort of marriage. And I think that I perceive that organisation that is known as ARC as that is finished, but it's just not being formally, it's not at its formal dead, but there's no formal najaz. But in the najaz, there's not the funeral prayer has not taken, the ghusl and the funeral prayer hasn't taken place, but it's dead. There's nothing taking place, and essentially, more than anything else, again, purely opinionated, purely subjective, but my humble opinion is because the critical mass of those in leadership or senior positions, and historically have had an inability to introspect and say what is the needs, what is the real needs, and what is the real strengths of people coming from non-heritage Muslim backgrounds, so that can be that strength can be harnessed and that can be addressed. It's very much a replication of something which is barely working for the heritage Muslim community. So, and what do I mean by that? Let me give you a little detail. So, it's Muharram and it's a first. So why don't we have some lectures about Muharram, lectures about Ashura? Hey, it's Ramadan. Why don't we have an iftar? Okay, these are not bad things, but it goes beyond nothing. Goes beyond anything to do with the calendar dates of what the established communities are doing. Now, what I'm saying is that if you have 300, 400 families, or a certain amount of families in the, say, for example, South London region, and they'll say culture heritage, just for example, they can afford to go to the mosque and it just be a cultural kind of hub and a cultural centre, when there's no dawah or anything to do with the society. It's more, kind of ticking over. Yeah, and that works because that's a birth rate program. They have children, there's a madrasa for the children. They have elders, and there's a night for the elders. But they just they can do the Muharram, they can do the normal calendar dates, and that's pretty much it. But from a community where you're trying to grow, trying to transform the environment that you're in, trying to give birth to something, if you model yourself on that, then it's a recipe for not just longevity, but to be removed from the face of history, as if you didn't exist really. Because in fact, why do you need a separate institution if that's all you want to do? Just go to the places that exist already, because there's nothing you want to do different. You're not addressing any need apart from we're reverts. Well, there's a lot of English programs now. 10, 15 years ago, there were hardly any English programs, so having a lecture from a Shia sheikh that was going to talk in English was something special. They're on YouTube now. They're everywhere now, English lectures. So what's special? That's all you do is do it in English. Well, why are people going to come to you in particular, and you're not established? Why won't they go to the known established centres? You're a sideshow, or seen as a small fry in their eyes, or at least unconsciously. So that's the deal.
Fantastic answer. And just before I go on to the issue about the actual great debate, just one more point on that. If I'm just being here, just putting it out, and just saying, if someone like El Hajj Malik Al-Shabazz, our shining black prince, our martyr, our imam, our sheikh, if he was to be, by some miracle, was able to walk into it, there was like door A and door B, and he had to choose one, and ARC was in door A, Islamic Action in door B, and this is a man that we know what he's about, and we all
a revolutionary.
Yeah. If we want to know what, for example, we know in America, you've got the Hebrew Israelites who are in the streets doing community work. You got Brother Paulite and these other people out there, Sanet TV, they're doing all this type of work. The Nation of Islam, you've got some Christian groups as well who don't believe in a white Jesus, for example, also in the community doing work. If we wanted to, and obviously on Marcus Garvey and what he did, so if we wanted to and the Panthers, if we wanted to wrap up all the best of what these people are doing, and then we sort of like imbibed it in Malcolm, and then we're saying that Islamic Action is the inheritor of all of that, which thought do you think Malcolm would choose to go through if he was around now?
The best thing about that question is because the door swings both ways, right? So I believe that Malcolm would choose the door of Islamic action, but not only that, I think that the door of Ark will be locked to Hajj Malik Shabazz. I don't think somebody with his perspective would be welcomed at Ark, quite possibly.
Okay, thank you for that brilliant answer. Okay, moving on quickly now. To the actual debate itself, if I may be so bold and as to ask you concerning it. There are those who would simply say you're promoting homosexuality and what you're doing is for haram and it is wrong, and that you yourself need to look to your eternal soul because you may be held answerable for this type of discussion, which in the Quran would be condemned by the acts of the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, who had boulders and stones put upon them, and none of the prophets were tolerant, and none of the prophets, even Saleh or Lut, and these people, when they saw abomination and they saw blasphemies taking place, and they, particularly when the Quran actually says, why do you, they were destroyed for going near the men, as if they were women.
Approach them,
why, yeah, as if you're women.
Robbery on the
highways, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Promotion of homosexuality, yes or no?
No promotion. Promotion of critical thinking. I'm not surprised that there will be some people that will say that this is haram and you're promoting it, because, I mean, according to their level of knowledge or their level of insight or their ability to think in a lateral way, you have myopic, short-sighted people, one-dimensional people. That's just the way that it is. So if we can remove the absence of the ability to use our imaginations and think outside of the box, then this is what we get: critical thinking. So there's no promotion other than promoting analysis, conversation, dialogue. We know the early Muslims that they would have atheists in the mosque, Kafir, people that have rejected Islam, that came to debate, and they would show them what? Akhlaq, good manners, not labeling, not slandering, not slagging them off, or not chastising them, but in dialogue with them. It's that you change hearts and minds, or you come to a greater level of understanding of a phenomena by dialogue, not by fighting or being too scared to discuss.
I hear that, but once again, from some of the feedback that I've been made aware of, particularly around this debate, would you then take it further and have a paedophile? Would you have a discussion around paedophilia in Islam, acceptable or not? And would you sit in a space with a known paedophile, a person who has committed atrocities against minors? Why would you not think that by you having him on such in this August platform is not somehow, according to some people, is not somehow helping to clean that person up, or show that person we should look at some humanitarian side of them? How do you distinguish between homosexuality evil, according to some, and paedophilia evil? Is it not all zina ultimately? And it's not, and should there be no support for zina? Just as you should not support Nazism, you should not give a platform to racists, you should not give a platform to the BNP. Are you not giving a platform to evil?
Well, I mean, giving a platform to the BNP, I don't think there's anything wrong with that if you're discussing something with people who are racist. I think the analogy with the paedophile may be a false comparison, because paedophilia, in terms of haram and halal, yes, haram. According to the shiur, homosexuality, haram. Fair enough. However, we're living in the UK. Paedophilia is a haram. Is illegal. But homosexuality is not. Paedophilia is promoted and endorsed. Is not endorsed in the mainstream society, in the soap operas, in the schools, in the lessons, in the sex education. Paedophilia is not promoted. However, you have gay Muslim characters, quote unquote gay Muslim characters, in soap operas. This is being promoted in the society. For example, in the black community, is a promotion of homosexuality in the latest, biggest hip hop Empire series. People are arguing that there is promotion of this. So we're not trying to. We're not. Again, not giving a platform to, but saying that this conversation has started. Do we engage in it intelligently, or do we refuse to be involved because it's haram? So we just don't speak about it. If you don't like it, don't come to the debate. But Been a pleasure. As I said, you'll get more from us inshallah about the next update about time and place and who's involved and who's on the poster. But till next time, stay safe. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu.